I wanted to come on here and talk about, but also not talk about DaBaby and the recent controversy that he's in, and it's a lot of it, and for no good reason if you ask me. And what's making me do this is because of some stuff that recently came out. And by the way, this video is being recorded on August 2nd, 2021, and how back though I'm in with videos, this video probably won't come out to maybe possibly the end of the week or by the weekend. I don't know, I'm not sure, but it'll be up there. So we all know what happened when he was at the Rolling Loud music festival down in Miami, now maybe like a couple weeks ago, where he basically stopped in the middle of his set to basically said, put your phones up in the air, your lighters up in the air, if you're not a man that's sucking dick in the parking lot or something like that. Then he said something to the effect of, put your lighters or phones in the air if you do not have HIV or AIDS and everything like that. And then that's when the whole spiral of madness, a multiverse of madness in and of itself, just came tumbling down and around DaBaby. And for no reason. Then you had the Academy from all angles literally go in on him, basically saying that what he said was homophobic and this, that, and the third, even though it wasn't. But, you know, that's another conversation for another day. I think I've already had it. And, you know, they went in on him about that. Then he gave, I guess, some kind of makeshift apology. And I call it makeshift because it really wasn't an apology per se, quote unquote. And you can tell when something is genuine and when something is not. So, you know, he did all of that. Now, fast forward to now. He was supposed to perform at various music festivals and music type events over the course of the next month or so. And there were 4 of them that I can count to date. It might be more by the time this video gets uploaded. But I know one of them was the Lollapalooza, which just recently happened in Chicago. They scrapped him from that. He was supposed to perform at the governor's ball. He got scrapped from that. And I think that was in New York. He was supposed to perform, I think, at Coachella. He got scrapped from that. And it was another music festival. I can't think of it right now. And he got scrapped from that. Not only that, but he also lost a couple of endorsements from companies, all because of what they deemed to be quote unquote homophobic. And then of course you had other people come out and say things about him or against him, like Elton John, out of all people. Elton John came out and said something against him, and it really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, well, myself included, that Elton John would even come out and say some things, you know, like that, like where's this coming from? Meanwhile, we over here talking about what's going on with Ed Buck. And not one of the people that's having this outrage or the so-called outrage against him is remotely even talking about that. And I think now what's going on is with all this stuff being snatched away from him because of this, I think a lot of the people that were probably on the bandwagon of quote unquote canceling him are starting to see that it's too much. Because I was reading through some of the comments and people were saying, okay, now they're doing too much. Now they're reaching, or they're just following the leader, or they're just dragging this on. Because it's like, it was like a domino effect. One domino falls and the rest fall with it. It's crazy. And the thing is, he was contractually there for the events, so I hope they still paid him his money. Because either way, in my opinion, that's a breach of contract, and you can get sued for that. Look at what's going on with Scarlett Johansson and Disney right now. But I wanted to say all of that to say this. What's going on right now with DaBaby is actually way bigger than him. This right here is what we have been talking about on not only on my channel, but various platforms on and off YouTube, that there is a clear-cut agenda against heterosexual black men and their ability to have and express their freedom of speech, or even freedom of expression or freedom of opinion about things. And it's like I said, it's bigger than him, because if this is what they'll do with him, imagine what they'll do with anybody else. And they're using him right now as a poster child. They're using him as an example, saying if you dare do or say things like he said, even though it's not in the confines of what they're creating it out or making it out to be, we're going to quote unquote cancel you. I posted on Twitter the other day that any group or organization or person who has the ability to cancel a group or a person or an organization is not and cannot be deemed an unprotected group. At that point, you are very protected, and the academy is very protected, because they're the ones leading this charge. But I do believe that there's a higher positioning that's also involved with this as well, that's giving them some kind of leg or leeway to do what it is that they do. Now, here's the interesting thing. DaBaby has been saying very controversial things in lyrics throughout his songs. We all know that he was involved in a shooting where someone died, but that was cleared up as self-defense. We've heard that he's been abusive to women, like I think his baby mom and things like that. We know that he has said very disparaging things about black people, both men and women, but especially women. But he did all of that and he never got canceled. But the minute he says what he says at Rolling Loud, that's grounds for cancellation. They're basically telling you that it's okay for you to say this stuff about your own people, but the minute that you cross that line in the sand when it comes to the academy, then that's when it's time to remove you. It's time to take care of you and discard you. And what's crazy is you have people who are black in the academy and for some reason do not see that. I'm like, and these are the same type of people that will put their sexuality before their race. And I know that to be a fact because there was somebody on Twitter the other day who did just that when it came to the situation. They literally put their sexuality before their race because they feel that they'll get a leg up with them being in that community versus them being in this race. That's the same thing with people who love to tiptoe and dive into being in an interracial relationship. They feel that with another group, they will somehow get some kind of a push up in standard wise and status wise versus being with their own, because being seen as, you know, as black is being seen as bottom of the barrel. The people in the academy who are black oftentimes do the same thing. I'm not going to say every last one of them do it, but way too many of them do, especially with the response as it pertains to what happened, you know, with here. Just like I talked about in my live stream where I was talking about Funky Degenerate, as I called him, talking about how they're not going to march anymore for cisgender men and heterosexual black men. They've been, listen, like I said in that stream, they've been saying that for the longest, but they'll still find a way to get out there and twerk like their life depended on it. And then say that's a form of protest. I remember when I first heard that, I said, are you serious? Twerking is a form of protest now? This is what it's come down to? But like I said, this is bigger, way bigger than DaBaby. And I was listening to another YouTuber by the name of Gravity Takeout, and shout out to him. I don't know if he's watching this video or not, but he has said something interesting. It said DaBaby really doesn't have any allies in this industry, and he just found out how that is, because not one of the people that was on that lineup, and it's a lot of people on these lineups for these festivals, as a lot of people, not one came to his defense. They literally left him out there to dry because at the end of the day, they're worried about their bottom line. And let me tell you something right now, their bottom line, a lot of their money that they be making is nothing but loan money, because a lot of them be signing them whack, wicked 360 deals. It's a lot of black artists who got caught up and hemmed up in them 360 deals. I think TLC was one of them, and you saw what happened with them. Had one of the best records of all time with not Waterfalls, with Crazy Sexy Cool, won all them Grammys, and then had to go and announce on the night they won all them Grammys for that album that they were filing for bankruptcy. Why? Because of that 360 deal. Same thing happened with Toni Braxton. That's why they said you got to make sure that you read your contracts. And like I said, you have people all over Twitter just talking about, yes, we're canceling DaBaby and all types of stuff and making jokes and everything like that. I'm like, okay, it's only a matter of time when it can happen to you. Don't think that everything is just everything in a box of Lucky Charms, because the same thing can definitely happen to you if you're not careful. I will say that this is definitely his wake up call. And, hopefully he can bounce back from this, and I'm sure that he possibly will. But now he's going to have to rearrange his circle. He's going to have to rearrange the people that is around him, don't keep the same company and everything like that. Like now, through this, his eyes should be wide open to see people for who they are, who really had his back, who was on his side. Do all of this. Because from what I'm looking at it, from my vantage point, it's not that many people. And like I said, it's just amazing how easily people can get canceled for the smallest thing nowadays. And you have people online literally making fun of this man and actually glad that he's losing endorsements and losing money. People forget at the end of the day that while yes, he's making millions of dollars, but at the same time, he still has a family that he has to provide and take care of. And people don't even care about that. They'll just come back and say, oh, he should have thought about that before he said what he said. Now, let me get this straight. No pun intended. When it comes to the Academy, they're upset with him because he said about putting up the phones in the air and the HIV and the AIDS and everything like that and the men sucking dick in the parking lot. Let's focus on the fellatio part. Isn't that something that most people in Hall G do as a form of sexual arousal? Okay. Now, when it comes to the HIV and AIDS thing, it's interesting to me, and this is where a major hypocrisy comes in, and this is something right here that they probably will never call out, but I'm going to say it. When it comes to HIV and AIDS, they're making it seem like only people in the Academy can get HIV and AIDS, when that is most definitely not the case. In most cases, yes, but in all cases, no. HIV and AIDS is not exclusive to the Academy. At all. There are some children who are born with it, maybe because of the type of practices that their parents was in. Some people get it through blood transfusion because of bad blood. Some get it through sharing needles because, you know, drugs or, you know, tattoos and everything like that. So there are various ways to get it. It's not just through sex. It's just that sex is one of the biggest forms of ways of getting it. And a lot of times that comes from those in the Academy. But it is not the only way. They do not gatekeep that disease or virus. But they made it seem like when he said that, he was talking about them. How did they know he was only talking about them? They instantly got triggered. So in that moment, their hypocrisy got exposed. So you're mad because he said that, but you don't want HIV and AIDS to be known as the quote unquote gay disease. Because at one time, that's what they called it. They called it the homosexual disease. But then eventually over time, they said that was considered to be homophobic. So people stopped calling it that. So which is it? Do you want it to be acknowledged as that or do you not? Because you cannot have your cake and eat it too. And that's exactly what they're doing in this situation. And not many people are calling them out on that level of hypocrisy. And if you do, they'll come back at you with their favorite line. You're homophobic. That's the only thing they can hit you with. And the thing is, what's so sad is that might be the only thing they need to hit you with, because that's exactly what they hit him with. And now look at what's happening. Losing like spots to be at these festivals. He's losing endorsements. Some places, if he goes on tour, may not want him to come to their venue. That makes him lose even more money, because a lot of artists, they make their money when it comes to touring. Not necessarily when it comes to albums, because albums don't really sell like they used to. That's why a lot of stuff is through streaming. And there's only so much money you can make through streaming. That's why you got to tour and make your money through that. And even then, you have to split your money through all of the people that's involved. And you're usually one of the last people to get paid. Because you got to pay for the venue. You got to pay for your manager. You got to pay for your, you know, if you have dancers, backup singers, people who play the instruments, backup singers if you have them, a stage crew, and that's a lot. You got to pay all in stage crew. That's probably where the bulk of the money goes to, because the people that have to put that stage up and take it down every other night. So they're really draining this man's pockets right now, and they see nothing wrong with it because of something that they got triggered by that wasn't necessarily or even homophobic in the slightest bit. But they can run around here and be hypocritical as they want to be, and no one calls them out on it. But like I said, this right here is bigger than DaBaby, because this now means that because of him, he's the proxy. Harvey talks about proxies all the time. He right now is the proxy because everybody's talking about him. But he will not be the last proxy. There will be more under different names. And like I said, he's just setting the tone for right now. But it'll be somebody else down the line. And they're going to make sure he doesn't forget it. They're going to hover that over his head for the rest of his career and even after he dies. Now, you had back in the day, Eminem said what he said, and he said a lot of things. But then how did they smooth that over? Let him just do a duet with Elton John. And then when the performance is over, hug it out, and then walk off the stage, and then it's all is forgotten. Not with DaBaby, and Eminem said way worse things. You have people that are palm color who are in these boardrooms right now snatching up people's rights in the academy right now. They don't say a thing. Ed Buck literally just got found guilty on drug charges, not murder charges, but drug charges in the deaths of not one but two black gay men. And the details of that is just gruesome. No outrage from that. You just had a doctor out in California that threatened to kill his gay neighbors by shooting them in the face. No outrage from that. But this is what they chose to be mad at. And all the examples I used was way worse than what he did. Allegedly. And when I say allegedly, I'm talking about what he allegedly did. Because I don't deem what he said to be homophobic in the least bit. But what do I know? But I'm going to go ahead and end the video on that note. I think I pretty much got all my points out there. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments.